On a freezing morning in November 1957, police entered a quiet farmhouse in Plainfield, Wisconsin. What they found inside would haunt the nation for decades. Furniture was stitched from human skin. Bowls were made from skulls, and the face of a woman, hanging on the wall like a trophy. It sounds like a horror film, right? But it was not. The man who turned nightmares into reality and inspired the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was Ed Gein. Ed Gein was born in 1906, a boy raised by silence, shadows, and a mother who feared the world. Augusta Gein, fanatically religious and isolated her sons from society. In her eyes, all women, except herself, were evil, and she made sure Ed believed it too. The world was wicked, and only she could save them. When Augusta died in 1945, something inside Ed broke. He boarded up her room, left it untouched, and began to descend into madness. But it wasn't until 1957 that the world learned what he'd become. After the disappearance of hardware store owner Bernice Worden, police were led to Ed's home. Inside was a scene that defied explanation. Human heads turned into soup bowls, a corset made from a woman's torso, chairs upholstered with skin, and a shoebox filled with 9 vulvas. Ed Gein hadn't just killed, he had collected. Shockingly, Ed confessed to only 2 murders, Bernice Worden and tavern owner Mary Hogan. But he admitted to digging up dozens of graves, harvesting body parts from the dead. He claimed he wanted to build a woman's suit so he could become his mother, so he could be her again. He wasn't a chainsaw-wielding brute. He was quiet, polite, almost invisible, and that made him even more terrifying. In 1974, a new kind of horror was born, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Leatherface, a mute masked killer who wears human skin, became a horror icon. Director Tobe Hooper admitted it. The film wasn't fiction. It was inspired by Ed Gein's grotesque legacy. But here's the difference. Leatherface ran with a chainsaw. Ed Gein moved in silence. Leatherface screamed, and Ed whispered. One was cinema, and the other was real. Ed Gein was declared legally insane. He spent the rest of his life in Central State Hospital, dying in 1984. But his legacy never died. His crimes inspired more than Texas Chainsaw. He shaped Norman Bates in Psycho, Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs, and an entire generation of horror fiction. One quiet man, one farmhouse, and a collection of skin, memories, and madness. We look into the eyes of fictional killers and feel fear. But Ed Gein reminds us that true horror doesn't need fangs or flames. It needs only obsession, isolation, and the silence of an open grave. Because the scariest part of Ed Gein's story is that it actually happened. If this story left a mark on you, don't let it fade. Leave a comment and share it. Because the history forgotten is history repeated.
Subscribe.